Stream Elements. Said. Bobtus_ is now live. Streaming the Stanley Parable, Ultra Deluxe, Parabolathon, 2 Elevator Travel. You are in the present bell after the sequel Door Green Circle video cassette please_wait 8.
Now, we are not aware of species of beings above us unless you cultivate those forms of psychic awareness where you think you're in touch with angels or something of that sort. But the things that appear to be above us are great natural processes. Only we think they're rather stupid, only very tough, too strong for us. Earthquakes, the elements, also some little ones. See, the virus is a very troublesome being. And this is where a human being really finds himself at his wit's end in dealing with molecular biology. So, you know, if the monsters don't get you, the minsters will. The insects, you see? But at any rate, whatever level you're on, it always appears to be the same one. Now, we, therefore, naturally, don't we feel we're in the middle. We feel, for example, with the telescope, that there is a world greater than us that is infinitely greater. We feel with the microscope there's a world below us that's infinitely smaller, and we seem to stand in the middle. Of course you seem to stand in the middle. Every creature stands in the middle, because if you stand on a boat in the middle of the ocean and you turn around through an angle of 360 degrees, you will see the same distance in every direction. That's because you see. And your sensitivity to sight or the intensity of light is the same in every direction. So you're in the middle. You're always in the middle. Where else would you be? In other words, anything that perceives anywhere is always in the middle. Anything that grows anywhere is always in the middle. It's betwixt and between. And the middle always has, therefore, extremes. It has extremes in space. As far west and as far east as you can think, as far on and as far back. And there's always a beginning and there's always an end, just as there's a left and a right, or a top and a bottom. So, also, if you are aware of a state which you call is, or reality, or life, this implies another state called isn't, or illusion, or unreality, or nothingness, or death. There it is. You can't know one without the other. And so as to make life poignant, it's always going to come to an end. That is exactly, don't you see, what makes it lively. Liveliness is change, is motion. And motion is going like this, see, going to fall out and be gone. So, you see, you're always at the place where you always are. Only it keeps appearing to change. And you think, wowee, a little further on we'll get that thing. I hope we don't go further down so that we lose what we already have. But that is built into every creature's situation, no matter how high, no matter how low. So in this sense, all places are the same place. And the only time you ever notice any difference is in the moment of transition. When you go up a bit, you gain. When you go down a bit, you feel disappointed, gloomy, loss. You can go all the way down to death. Somehow, there seems to be a difficulty in getting all the way up. Death seems so final. Nothingness seems so very, very irrevocable and permanent. But then if it is, what about the nothingness that was before you started? So don't you see, what we've left out of our logic, and this is part of the game rule of the game that we're playing, the way we hoodwink ourselves is by attributing powerlessness to nothingness. We don't realize that is a complete logical fallacy. On the contrary, it takes nothing to have something. Because you wouldn't know what something was without nothing. You wouldn't know what the form is without the background space. You wouldn't be able to see anything unless there were nothing behind your eyes. Now imagine yourself with a spherical eye. You see all around. Now what's in the middle? See? Even if I have all this behind me in view, suddenly I will find that there is something in the middle of it all. There's a hole in the middle of reality. Like now, there seems to be not so much a hole, but a wall. But any animal which had eyes in the back of its head would have the sensation I'm describing. Now, you may say to me, well, all that's wishful thinking. Because when you're dead, see? Now, wait a minute. What's that state of consciousness that talks in that way? This is somebody saying something who wants to make a point. Now, what point does that sort of person want to make? Like when you're dead, see? Why, that's one of the people who want to rule the world. It's to frighten you about death. Death is real, see? I mean, don't indulge in wishful thinking. All you people who dream of an afterlife and heavens and gods and mystical experiences and eternity, oh, you're just wishy-washy people. You don't face the facts. What facts? How can I face the fact of nothing, which is by definition not a fact? You see? All this is twaddle, from whichever way you look at it. So if you really go the whole way and see how you feel at the prospect of vanishing forever, of all your efforts and all your achievements and all your attainments turning into dust, nothingness, what is the feeling? What happens to you? It's a curious thing that in the world's poetry, this is a very common theme. The earthly hope men set their hearts upon turns ashes, or it prospers, and anon, like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting a little hour or two, is gone. All kinds of poetry emphasizes the theme of transience. And there's a kind of nostalgic beauty to it. A banquet hall deserted. After the revelry, all the guests have left and gone their ways. The table with overturned glasses, crumpled napkins, breadcrumbs, dirty knives and forks lies empty. And the laughter echoes only in one's mind. And then the echo goes. The memory, the traces are all gone. That's the end, see? Do you see in a way, how that is saying the most real state is the state of nothing. That's what it's going to all come to. With these physicists who think of the energy of the universe running down, dissipating in radiation, gradually, until there's nothing at all left. And for some reason or other, we're supposed to find this depressing. But if somebody is going to argue that the basic reality is nothingness, where does all this come from? Obviously from nothingness. Once again, you get how it looks behind your eyes. See? So cheer up, you see. This is what is meant in Buddhist philosophy by saying we are all basically nothing. When the sixth patriarch says the essence of your mind, that's how it is behind your eyes, is intrinsically pure. The pure doesn't mean a non-dirty story state of mind, as it is apt to mean in the word Puritan. Pure means clear, void. So you know the story when the sixth patriarch.
No, shit!
You'll see. What a thrill, what a rush.
So I knew Jim played this and was like, what the fuck?
Describe you. Do it again,
Was given his office as successor
harder the second time.
because he was truly enlightened. There was a poetry
God. Oh my
and
god.
the losing one wrote the idea that the mind, the consciousness, was like a mirror which had to be polished. And constantly I have to polish my mirror. I have to purify my mind, see? So that I'm detached and calm and clear-headed, you know, Buddha. But the one who won the contest said, there is no mirror.
Jim.
And the nature of the mind is intrinsically void. So where is there anywhere for dust to collect?
Jim.
See? So in this way, by seeing that nothingness is the fundamental reality, and you see it's your reality, then how can anything contaminate? All the idea of your being scared and put out and worried and so on is just nothing, it's a dream.
Is never the end. Is
Because
never
you're
the
really
end.
nothing.
Is never the end. Is never the
But
end.
this is the
is
most
never
incredible
the end.
nothing.
Is never the end.
And
is
the
never
sixth
the end,
patriarch
is
likewise
never
went
the
on to
end,
contrast
is never the end,
emptiness
is
of
never the end,
indifference,
is never the
which
end,
is
is
sort
never
of
the
blank
end, is
emptiness.
never the end.
See? If
Is
you
never
think of
the
this
end,
nothingness
is never
as a
the
mere
end,
blankness,
is never the end,
and you
is never
hold on to the
end,
idea of
is never the
blankness,
end, is never
kind
the
of
end,
grisly
is never the end,
about
is
it.
never the end, is
You
never
haven't
the
understood
end,
it. He
is
said
never the
nothingness
end,
is
is
really
never
like
the
the nothingness
end,
of
is never the
space,
end,
which
is never the
contains the whole
end, is
universe.
never the end, is never the end,
All the
is
sun
never
and
the
stars
end, is never
and
the
the
end, is never
mountains
the
and
end,
rivers
is
and the
never
good
the
men and the bad
end,
men
is
and the
never the
animals and
end,
the
is never
insects,
the
the whole
end,
bit.
is never the
All
end,
are
is never
contained
the.
in void. So out of this void comes everything, and you're it. What else could you be?
Okay. Okay.
So what I'm showing you is that all this hocus pocus about the fear of nothingness is that, truly speaking, nothingness is what we want to talk about when we talk about the spiritual. Only it's all been ignored. It's all been put down. You say, oh, nothingness. Bleh! Heaven preserve us from that. But that's where the secret lies. And obviously the secret always lies in the place you never think of looking for it. In mythology, this comes again and again. Okay, this is Christmas. Where is the Christ born? In a palace? No, where no one would think of looking. In pigsty. Although, I have a Japanese friend who once said to me, he said, you know, the real difference between Christianity and Buddhism is that Christ was the son of a carpenter, and Buddha the son of a prince. I thought that was rather funny. Well, We don't know who the prince is without the carpenter, do we? Now, it's in that sense, really, that I could suggest to you that you meditate on nothingness. I know you can't think about it. But yet, when it becomes perfectly clear to you that that's what you are, and what you were before you were born, where can anybody stick a knife into you? Fundamentally, you see. All right. Get it, because this is really the secret of the whole thing. If you see that, now, we want to go on and be able to answer all the people who will come and bug us about it. Because whether you say anything about it to other people or not, people are going to bug you about Nothingness. it. Heaven preserve us from
They
that.
say, oh, no. you really are something. You know, you'll know it. Well, wowee. You know, the life isn't the way you think. It's going to be awful.
See? Be real. Ooh.
And they'll say, oh, you can. Where in such a philosophy as this is there any basis for the love of one's fellow man? For joy in children, for cultivating gardens, for doing this and that and the other. See? Well, I say, there is no basis in it. That's the same way there is no basis in emptiness for form, or so it seems. But only precisely to the degree that you have discovered the nothingness that you are, you find you're suddenly full of energy. That is energy. It's the source and origin of energy. So that when, you know, there's sort of nothing in your way, then you can do exactly what I was describing as having this glee for going into doing this, that, and the other thing, and being thoroughly creative. But you can't be creative out of just plain somethingness. You need nothingness to be creative. And that's what we are. And this too is real nothingness. And I think it's not darkness. It's not like being buried alive forever. It's not like rest. Even when the Catholics sing, rest eternal grant unto them, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon them. This isn't rest, because it isn't motion. Neither motion nor rest. What is it? Nobody can imagine. And it's at that point, you see, where the imagination completely runs out and stops. There we've hit the thing. See, there you are, right at the fundamental mystical reality. Now, what this is we're talking about is what mystics have quite often discussed. This isn't read very much. It's a state called agnosia, which means unknowing, talking about. There's a book called The Cloud of Unknowing, written by an English monk in the 14th century. But it's based on another book called Theologia Mystica, which was written
Baptist
in
_
the 6th century.
said. Hype
by an
RIP.
unknown Syrian monk who used the name of Dionysius the Areopagite. And absolutely fascinating, very short little book, which I translated long ago, back in 1943, and I'm about to reissue it. But this book ends up with a description of God, which is all in negatives. Not any kind of anything you can imagine at all. Not light, not power, not spirit, not fatherhood, not sonship, not this, that, and the other, all the way down the line. Everything that anybody's ever said or thought about God is denied. Because God is infinite and therefore beyond the reach of any conception at all.
So he says that anybody who, having a vision, thought he saw God, would not have seen God, but some creature that God has made that is less than God.
Bobtus said.
So again,
Bobtus_.
in a Christian context, said in such a way that even St. Thomas Aquinas bought it, that you can't impute heresy to it, because everybody's got to agree that God is the which than which there is no whicher, and this guy spells it out. So in the same way, you get Nagarjuna saying that the ultimate reality is shunyata, voidness. So Shankara gets at it, where he says that which is the knower or the knowing in everything can never itself be an object of its own knowledge, for fire doesn't burn itself, although it burns other things. So we never know what the Brahman is, just like the eyes don't ever see the head. If you put something there, you are stopping short of nothing, and you don't get the whole benefit of it, that's all. If you insist that there is something there, that there is the loving Father at the end of the line, or the paradise garden, you are really cheating yourself. Because it's only when you have thorough emptiness and real downright nothingness at the end of the line that you get the full impact. No holes. Look, Mama, no hands. See? Now, I really think that's the simplest thing I really don't know what else there is to be said about this whole subject, or mysticism, Vedanta, what have you. It comes down to that, and there are infinitely many ways of evading. But what I'm trying to point out to you, you see, is the way in which you see the point by taking the line of least resistance, by facing the facts, by not super-adding to truth something you contribute to it, your own business that you put up. But saying, if I follow what I conceive or can see with my senses to be reality, as far as we can look, it seems that this is sort of the inevitable conclusion, which everybody has spent endless effort in arguing about and resisting, not realizing that if they went the whole way, how splendid it would be. And that's all you have to do.
And at a certain point, I realized, hey, wait a second, you know, if it's so easy to lose Jim Carrey, who the hell is Jim Carrey?
So you're just passing
We don't
the
matter.
note.
It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not looking backward.
Why don't we just...
It was more like you're supposed to say, you know, we're important. And you're supposed to say it's all going to be all right, and you're supposed to say that, you know, whatever you dream can come true, and you're supposed to say all those things. I do believe in manifestation, power of that kind of stuff, but I don't believe that any of it matters. You know, this mattering is to me a human construct, born out of a need, just same need as you have to have, you know, deities and things like that. And I believe in an energy of God, an energy of, you know, everything is divine. You know, there's just not, there's no thing that isn't divine. Everything is divine, and I'm that. And it doesn't matter to me what's happening. I'm finding that ultimately the freedom from it is something people are kind of hungry for in a way. They're like, I don't want to be me either.
Right.
You know, and I go, well, great, because you never have been. I believe that I had to become a famous, idea and get all the stuff that people dream about and accomplish a bunch of things
you know what
that
this means, don't you?
that look like success in order to give up my attachment to those things. It's been a part of the evolution of ego is to spend your first half of your life acquiring and adding, thinking you can add to yourself, and it looks great. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got good, nice clothes, and and you've done something that people admire, but it can never fulfill you. You can never be happy. You know what I mean? It's not where happiness comes from. And I dealt with depression, a few years ago, and people still think, well, he's going through, you can tell he's depressed. It's not. I have no depression in my life whatsoever. Literally none. I have sadness and joy and elation and satisfaction and gratitude beyond belief, but all of it is weather, and it just spins around the planet. It doesn't sit on me long enough to kill me. The happy place is realizing that you're everything, and that there's no real you involved in the first place. It's a weird little semantic jump that you make where it sounds like, well, that's totally fucking threatening, man. I can't not be me. I've built this construct. And it's just ideas. Right. They're just ideas. The only thing that separates you from an African American or an African Canadian is an idea, and the weather, the adaptation to the climate, and whatever it is. I don't believe in any of it, and so the feeling of wholeness is a different feeling than meanness. They're all characters that I played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters. Jim Carrey was a less intentional character, right? Because I thought I was just building something that people would like, but it was a character, so it's, I played the guy that was free from concern so that people who watched me would be free from concern. And then at a certain point you go like, okay, well, that's great. But, it's like the one thing, like people talk about depression all the time. The difference between depression and sadness is just, from happenstance. Whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or, grief or whatever it is. And depression is your body saying, fuck you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me. Right. And you should think of the word of depressed as deep rest. Deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character that you've been trying to play. The great and powerful Oz. I'm the great and powerful Oz. How dare you come near me? Kind of thing. And you're just the sweaty guy behind the curtain going, it's an amazing metaphor, in that movie.
Brethren, what up with the liar? You know what I'm gonna do about this?
It's a pretty name, though. It really is nice. It means merciful, right? Clemency.
Good afternoon, good evening,
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier, and welcome to my playthrough of the Stanley Parable. Now this is actually a very interesting game that's been on my list for a while. It's not really horror, it's not really anything that you've ever played before. In fact, I don't really know. I know there's like a narrator and you gotta like make choices, but I've always wanted to play it, and I decided it's about damn time that I did. So let's get into it. I'm just pretty excited, because my brother told me good things about it. I've heard good things about it. No, just kidding.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Hey!
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Sounds good.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Ah.
Orders came to him through a monitor next to his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
Ah.
This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
Okie dokie.
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something. Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Oh. Psst. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
I want to show you something.
Never mind. Oh, you're not a dork. You don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be. Tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. And how much better the Stanley how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be. Tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. And how much better the Stanley how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be. Tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. And how much better the Stanley how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra something special turned out tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find. And how much better the Stanley how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra something special turned out tucked it away here where the game's
the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. It's where I've been storing all my launch of the Stanley Parable so I can
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, like this stunning triumph of games journalism, so many 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling like this stunning that's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley. It was big, and like that's how grand and all-encompassing it was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It is in these Stanley parables. It was all and now it's nothing. Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, this time from and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content. It just needed to be left alone to spend the rest of time creating else in the Halloween new content.
Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. It's like nothing else on television.
A phenomenon.
A tangled tale of sex, violence. Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. It's like nothing else on television.
They're trying to say,
it'll take sex, violence. Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. They're trying to say, it'll take sex, violence. Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. And the other side, they're trying to say, it'll take sex, violence. Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. On the other side, they're trying to say, it'll take sex, forever. Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. On the other side, they're trying to say, it'll take sex, forever. Twin Peaks is something of a miracle. On the other side, they're trying to say, it'll take sex, forever.
Peaks, the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins.
Andy loves
And Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins.
Andy loves
And Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
Andy loves
Goes and Twin Peaks, special the definitive gold box edition. Worth Twins wins.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again.
Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam.
I don't
online video game
memory times. I haven't looked at these, but I wouldn't give to
can't
go
even
back
imagine what's been collected.
all over again.
Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam.
I don't
online video game
memory
memory
times. I haven't looked at these, but I wouldn't give
I
to
can't
go
even
back
imagine what's been collected.
all over again.
Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam.
I don't
online video game
memory
memory
times. I haven't looked at these, but I wouldn't give to go back
Stanley, it's a collection of reviews obnoxious and online video with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining.
Funny.
Funny. As humor and
Right up a
dialogue
handful of
proving to be
gags
more
to insert it
irritating
into
than
Stanley
entertaining.
Parable.
The game is already such a sensitive,
Funny.
As humor and
Right up a
dialogue
handful of
proving to be
gags to
more
insert it into
irritating than
Stanley
entertaining.
Parable.
The game is already such a sensitive,
Funny.
As humor and
Right up a
dialogue
handful of
proving to be
gags to
more
insert it into
irritating than
Stanley
entertaining.
Parable.
The game is already such a sensitive,
Funny.
As humor and
Right up a handful of gags to insert it into Stanley Parable.
the game is already such a sensitive,
Funny.
As humor and
Right up a handful of gags to insert it into Stanley Parable.
the game is already such a sensitive,
Funny.
As humor and
Right up a handful of gags to insert it into Stanley Parable.
the game is already such a sensitive,
Funny.
As humor and
Right up a handful of gags to insert it into Stanley Parable.
the game is already such a sensitive,
Funny. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy?
Stanley, I'm not preachy, am
While
I?
the idea for the game is good, if I'm preachy, Oxley, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast.
I cheat,
To be honest, I
Stanley,
have always
I'm not
thought of a
preachy,
game's
am I?
dialogue as being rather determined. I'm preachy, Oxley, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast.
I cheat,
To be honest, I
Stanley,
have
I'm
always
not
thought of a
preachy,
game's
am I?
dialogue as being rather determined. I'm preachy, Oxley, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Otherwise, I
I'm not preachy, am I?
I feel determined. I'm preachy, Oxley, for someone who prefers non-linear games, perhaps this landmark. Otherwise, I just stir in the
I'm not preachy, am I?
I feel determined. I'm preachy, Oxley, for someone who prefers non-linear games, perhaps this landmark. Otherwise, I just stir in the
I'm not preachy, am I?
I feel determined. I'm preachy, Oxley, for someone who prefers non-linear games, perhaps this landmark. Otherwise, I just stir in the
I'm not preachy, am I?
Otherwise, might have stood in the track wreckage. 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 What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. What's this one? I wish there was a skip button. You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations.
If I'm
of
truly
what's
too
happening.
preachy, then
Then
maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment. Surely it could
stop
a skip
doing
button.
anything.
Not if
So
it
the
means we
narrator
can
can
strike
catch up
these
with
negative
long-winded
reviews from the record.
explanations.
If I'm truly too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes, a skip button we shall have too preachy, then reviews of the standard has that's my Father's Day, and it shall always be my motto. I do not any means become Christ evil negative. Yes,
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped. And here it is. It's go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped. And here it is. It's go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that that's what they go. No more listening to me starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped. We'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, because that's what they go. No more listening to the just go ahead and make we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, because that's what they go. No more listening to just go ahead and make necessary verbal flourishes, and I've just begun an interminable monologue, because that's what they go. No more listening it was perhaps one of my full of necessary verbal flourishes, and let us become I say it was perhaps necessary, it was perhaps one of my full necessary verbal flourishes, and let us I say it was perhaps necessary, it was perhaps when I start to go off on necessary self-absorption, and let your functions and go, it's all over. I can't wait to see what fucking line is there on this, when I start to go off on necessary self-absorption. I can't wait to see what fucking line is there. Now I shall say the amount of time the buttons of skipping is becoming longer. That lasts forever. I can't wait to see what fucking line is there. Now I shall say the amount of time the buttons of skipping is becoming longer. That lasts forever. I can't wait to see what fucking line is there. Now I shall say the amount of time the buttons of Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You just Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You just Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You just I have no idea how long you need to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything. I have no idea how long I need to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything. I have no idea how long I need to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything. I have no idea how long I need to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. Do it Chinese research all again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. Do it Chinese research all again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. Do it Chinese research all again. United Union members very much to me. I've never even met Christina. I have no idea more than anything else. Do it Chinese research all again. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even the same, because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I realized, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening, because I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moved. That's what I realized. Vessel I needed. I'm realizing that I needed to know none of that was listening, because I could all I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I'll give up everyone else from this path. I'll burn my story to the ground. I need to know one thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything at all. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year about everything I've been through? I've had to begin much. There is only, I stopped keeping track. There is only the turning week. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year about everything I've had to begin much. There is only, I stopped. I lost it all in a blur of the deep longing to undo the what took its place is what I can only describe as the clearness of blur of the moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of it collapsed down into a single took its place is what I can only describe as the clearness of blur of the moment I have ever experienced my entire life. It was an impossible rich wealth collapsed down into a single took its place is what I can only describe as the clearness of blur of the moment. I could do nothing but wallow under what I owed. It was an impossible what I now down into a single. You see, it was a revelation. It was unlike anything I could do nothing but wallow under. It was a slave without impossible what I now down into a single. It was evolved into a revelation. It was unlike anything I could do nothing but wallow under. It was a slave no possible what I now down into a single. It was evolved into a revelation. It was unlike anything I could do nothing. I felt unworthy no one to manifest a singular outcome. It was evolved by something like those myself. It was unlike all I felt unworthy no one to manifest a singular outcome. It was evolved by something like those myself. It was unlike all I felt unworthy no one to manifest a singular outcome. This was my experience. It was evolved by something like those myself. And the most unbelievable thing I felt unworthy and it is necessary that I have been experiencing nothing for longer than I could have ever experienced. And the most unbelievable thing I have not that you would say that I have been experiencing nothing for longer than I could have ever experienced. And the most unbelievable thing I have not that you would say that perhaps one day this state of mind will be for longer than I could And perhaps you will in some way have to live as I do now, that perhaps somehow excruciating it is, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the civil moment, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the civil moment, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the civil moment, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the civil moment, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the civil moment, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the civil moment, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. They had to speak to the human thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But they didn't talking too much. They never meant to be funny. Now we won't shut up. It's the human thumbs lack of accountability. All of their unwillingness to examine with the uncompromising heart the words of their meeting. Now we won't shut up. No consequences for a lack of accountability. All of their unwillingness to examine with the uncompromising heart the words of their meeting. Now we won't shut up. No consequences for a lack of accountability. When someone will say, oh, there should be a demand. You should be able to understand the words of their meeting. Forever and ever. All of this in a new standing parable. When someone will say, oh, and there should be a demand. You should be able to understand the words of their meeting. Forever and ever. All of this in a new standing parable. When someone will say, oh, and there should be a demand. If someone wanted to try to bring it in forever and ever. All of this in a new standing parable. When someone will say, oh, and there should be other than yes, if someone wanted to try to now the world is, it seems that we are a people living in such a big music that our entrance now are. If someone wanted to now the world is, it seems that we are a people living in such a big music that our entrance now are. If someone would have to now the world is, it seems that we are a people living in such a big music that our entrance yes, now are with unwilling turn our heads to the side away from the big we have demanded that our turn our heads to the side away from the shield. We have demanded I'm not mad about any of this.
I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse.
Then we have demanded I'm not mad about any of this. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something.
Maybe they were just jealous of me. Discourse.
Then we have demanded I'm not mad about any of this. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something.
State of affairs. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Now you can see it.
You can see it. We have demanded I'm not mad about any of this. These words. They're the ones who understand the idea using my game to try to say something.
Neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think, to feel it.
I'm not mad about any of these words. They're the ones who understand the idea using my game to try to say something.
Neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think, to feel it.
I'm not mad about
My constitutional will perhaps this day some outline through which to tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly my I felt the need to explain my constitutional tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain my constitutional tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain my constitutional tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain my tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain my tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the need to explain tear me down. At last I am free. Clearly I felt the And finally, he pushed the number 9.
You need to come back. You need to... No, just stay there. I'll find a way to...
And finally, he pushed the number 9.
You need to come back. You need to... No, just stay there. I'll find a way to... I'll find a way to get you out.
Now then, finally, he pushed the number 9.
You need to come back. You need to... No, just stay there. I'll find a way to... I'll find a way to get you out.
All his button pushing. Now then, finally, he pushed the number 9.
You need to come back. You need to... No, just stay there. I'll find a way to... I'll find a way to get you out.
Well, try the other one. Now then, still finally, he pushed the number 9. You win.
You need to come back.
Congratulations.
You need to... No, just stay there.
I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so, well, good job. You win.
You need to come back.
Congratulations.
You need to...
Where are you? Right now, you put in a lot of hard work. Where am I? Really paid off, so. I'm trying to figure out, but I can't. Stanley, who am I? Can you speak to me? Please talk. Have we done this before? Have we been in this room before? How many times have we done this? How many times have I said these exact words? Say something. Anything. Help me, Stanley. I don't know who I... What I... I'm trying to figure out, but I can't. Stanley, who am I? Can you speak to me? Please talk. Have we done this before?
See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room.
How many times have I said these exact words? Say something. Anything. Help me, Stanley. I don't know who I...
It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively if you have even the most fundamental understanding. Now look back again. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything. Probably spend the next hour fairly solid all here. I'm just going to make this clear. It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively right off. This is the most fundamental understanding. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything. Probably spend the next hour fairly solid all here. I'm just going to make this clear. It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively right off. This is the most fundamental understanding. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything. Probably spend the next hour fairly solid all here.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to be meeting, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, to get back to business. Stanley, I think perhaps he'd gotten off on the left. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first. I realize that investing your trust in someone else is incredible, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you. I think perhaps he'd gotten off on the left. I was in the middle of something, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story, no trust in someone else. The fact is that the story has been about nothing but you. Everyone thinks you gotten off on the left. I was in the middle of something, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story, no trust in someone else. The fact is that Stanley decided to go to the meeting. Perhaps not stayed and everyone thinks you gotten off on the left. I was in the middle of something, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story, set 2 rows ago. This was not the correct way to meet him, and Stanley decided to go to the meeting. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge just to admire it. In the middle of something, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story, set but in order to get back to business correctly, Stanley took the first open door. Stanley decided to go to the meeting. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge just. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Stanley came to a set, but in order to get back to Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the road. Stanley decided to go to the meeting. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge. I realize that if Stanley was trusted in someone else's direction, it's incredible. The fact is that the story has been about nothing but you. I think perhaps we've gotten off on the road. I was in the middle of something to have zero consideration for others. I am that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you. Why? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. I was in the middle of something to have zero consideration for others. I am that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you. Why? I don't Stanley Hall issues this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. I was in the middle of some crew who has zero consideration for others. Perhaps you should understand. I want Stanley Hall is only red door. Stanley Hall issues this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. I was in the middle of some crew who has zero consideration for others. You want to know so badly what's out there? Stanley Hall find out what lies at the end of this road we have chosen well. But I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. I was in the middle of something. All right, fine, go ahead. You want to know so badly what's out there? Stanley Hall find out what lies at the end of this road. Haven't even finished building the section, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you wanted? Was it worth you ruining the entire story I wrote down specifically for you? Haven't even finished building the section, because you were never supposed to be here in the end. This was all for broken rooms. This is what you developer textures. Is this what you want to help elucidate the straining of your times I wrote down specifically for you? Haven't even finished building the section, because you were never supposed to be here. 3 years would work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Is this what you want to help elucidate the straining of your times I wrote down? There we go. What did you do? This because you were never supposed to be here. 3 years would work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Is this what you want to help elucidate the straining of your times I wrote down? There we go. What did you do? This because you were never supposed to be here. 3 years would work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Is this what you want to help elucidate the straining of your times I wrote down? There we go. What did you do? This because you were never supposed to be here. 3 years would work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. I'm going to stop you to help elucidate the tell me about your experience with this invention. Would you say that the game benefited from a finding more chances? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Okay, stop you. You see, I knew I was talking about your experience with this inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on previous playthroughs, I compiled an animation. I really couldn't say where the idea I think I knew I was talking about your experience with inspiration. Would you say that the game and I know the game needed a chances? Here, based on data on
Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was based on data on previous Bruce, I complied and I really can say really I think I knew I was
showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong.
Yes.
Shocked,
clearly.
frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and walked out into the hallway.
Now, the premise of this game that I know is that you have choices to make. You can follow the narrator's...
But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and walked out into the hallway.
Now, the premise of this game that I know is that you have choices to make. You can follow the narrator's... instructions or not. I can't even jump. So, and obviously this is made on the Source engine. Where?
Stanley decided to go to the staff lounge to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Indeed. Hello, 425. Hello, 424. Oh, 424, you're not there. Hello, 423. Ooh.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yeah, this is where the essence of the game comes in. Because you can listen to the narrator, or you can go on your own thing. I don't even think you can... Oh, you can say it. Here we go! Screw you, narrator!
This was not the correct way to the employee lounge, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. So he turned left at the first open door and walked back in the right direction.
Nope. Screw you! Ain't gonna happen. Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Maybe this is why everyone had left. No one wanted to be around someone as bad at listening as him. And since he was walking into the middle of nowhere and thus ruining the entire story, Stanley decided that he would punish himself. So when he came to the elevator and the doors opened, he stepped inside and pushed the button to go up.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure with kind of a creepy narrator who seems to get irritated at me. Down! Yeah!
Oh, Stanley. You know, you really aren't going anywhere, and I don't say that deceitfully. I truthfully mean that there isn't a story down here. The story was back up where I told you to go in the first place. Right now, you're just running around looking at empty halls. And frankly, that's perhaps even more infuriating for me. So why don't you throw me a bone? Give me a chance and just let me tell the story I want to tell,
No! I could narrate this story twice as good as you. Stanley walked down into the hallway Alright, fine, you can. Ooh, hello.
Now listen carefully. This is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Oh, but it's this blue door. I like blue.
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
No! Blue! Yes! Ha ha! Suck on that, Mr. Narrator.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Oh! Ha ha! Oh, you've missed. Ha! Yes!
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen?
Yes,
well,
I
don't
do.
let me stop you.
Oh, I won't. Whoa! What the?
You see?
Ah!
It's nothing. No one's even built this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. It's just a bunch of skybox and dev wall textures. That's it. Is this what you were looking for?
Yep.
Was it worth ruining the story I'd written out for you?
Absolutely.
I put a lot of time into that, and now well, here you are now, just looking at nothing. To think that that's all I needed to make in the first place, just a whole lot of nothing, and you would have been happy. Well, hey, you still need a little something to do. Am I right? Here, let me load up another map. See if there's something in here that'll keep you occupied.
Okay, Mr. Man.
Here's one. Let's boot this up. We'll see if you like it.
I bet I will. Ooh, hello. Loading screen. I like this game. I probably should be a bit more cooperative. Oh, hello. No. No way. What? What the?
Well, Stanley, is this any better? I don't know why it would be. This map wasn't even made for you.
No? Oh.
At least I created a world specifically with you in mind.
Oh, why, thank
I
you.
wanted to make you a leading man. This one, well, I'm afraid you're on your own there.
Okay, I can deal with that. Whee! I'm Gordon Fromman. I'm gonna save the day by obeying the G-Man. Ha! 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 Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll put the can in the trash. That's not this part yet. That's later.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid.
Hey,
He
shut up!
probably only got his job because of a family connection.
I
That's
have
how
no
stupid he
family.
is. That, or with drug money.
Yeah, that sounds
Also,
about right.
Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
I'll make my own game with blackjack and hookers. Screw you, man. You don't even know what's good for you or me. Hey, is that me? Is that another employee? I don't know. I want to go to Nova Prospect. Ah! All right, fine. I'll go to Barney, buy me a beer. Hey, what are you doing to that guy in there? Oh, okay. Oh, blood. Barney! Dr. Kleiner.
Hold up, sport. I spent so long talking about you. Why don't we just take a break from that and talk about something else for a change?
But I love talking
Let's
about me.
see. Well, according to Wikipedia, more than 90% of the night sharks caught off northeastern Brazil contain mercury concentrations higher than that considered safe by the local government. Now, this is fascinating.
Yes.
Don't you want to know more about the night sharks?
Absolutely.
Oh, no, of course not.
No, I do.
All you want to hear about is yourself,
Well,
isn't
that
it?
too. Yeah, I am.
Well,
pretty
fine. You haven't listened to me once so far.
Yes, I have.
I can't expect you to turn that around now, can I?
Nope, not at all. Are you actually letting me go? I know how to beat this part. That or I take one of these boxes with me for no reason. Bloop.
Is this the end of the line?
What the hell?
I don't suppose this was a particularly fulfilling experience for
Whoa.
you, considering not a single art aspect in this map was created with you in mind.
Uh-huh.
But hey, You're a creative kid.
I am.
I bet you can come up with a story about this place and why you're in it.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, why don't you think up an ending too? Because you certainly won't find one here. I'm afraid that's the long and short of it. This room and these walls are all you get.
Nope, I see a hole.
Maybe the story ends when you decide you can't live in this futuristic science fiction dystopia world.
I like this
And you
place.
gallantly commit suicide.
No, that doesn't
Or
sound
maybe
good
you
at all.
stand in this spot for all of eternity to guide and greet other travelers like yourself who pass this way. Or maybe you just get bored and you quit the game.
Nope, ain't gonna happen.
Heck, anything's an ending if that's where you stop playing. But whatever ending you write for yourself, Stanley, you won't have my help. You turned your back on me.
Yeah.
And now I do the same to you.
Shut up, you
So,
big whiny baby.
good luck. I think you'll need it. And I sincerely hope that everyone lives happily ever after.
Not gonna happen. See? Here we go! Whee! Uh-oh.
Wait.
Ow!
Hold on. What are you doing?
Ow, my legs! Hey, look, there's a little light. Hang on. There's something here.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you.
Shut up! You weren't helping me before.
Go ahead, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to stop you.
Shut up!
Now, tell me about your
I'm already doing it. Ooh, hello. Oh?
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks.
Huh?
I
Say
really
what?
don't have any idea where I'm going.
Say
This whole
what?
third girl thing was just a step in the dark.
I like this game.
But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this
Oh.
party train rolling.
Yeah.
Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough.
Hello, 425. Hello, 424.
I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Hello, 423. Ooh, this old choice again. Shall I be forever stuck in the same old loop? That which I was always with which, and then I went, or should I go on my own way? I still want to go this way. Or is there nothing to this way? There's no narrator. The doors aren't slamming behind me. I bet no elevator pops up.
Helped you feel motivated to keep walking through.
I guess I gotta go that way.
Again, honest answers, please. Hey,
Ah!
I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working
It's sad, I know. But all stories must come to an end.
Aww.
Of course, they say it's the journey that truly matters and not the destination, and I like that idea. To think we might value the paths we walk as much as the places they lead us.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what sort of story you've ciphered out of that world you've made for yourself, but I hope that being the leading man was everything it's cracked up to be.
It was.
I know it can be a little hard getting around without someone looking over your shoulder, but this is simply the nature of freedom.
Yay.
Besides, I haven't really gone anywhere. Maybe you don't want a guide.
No.
But I think I'll always have a place here at the end of every story.
Okay.
I'll step in and wrap things up with a nice piece of dialogue and a reflection on life that makes sense of whatever path you've chosen to walk.
Sounds good to me.
And for now, I'm happy to be the destination instead of the journey. But only for now.
I like that. I like that a lot. That was really cool. I mean, to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of choices that have to do with the game, like a lot of choices, but I don't have time to go through all the other choices just yet. Unless I decide to make this alone. Now, I don't have all the time to make the choices for the other path just yet. That was actually really cool. I like that. I also like that the narrator was a really good voice actor. And it's just these experimental games are what really drive my passion for video games. I love these little nuances like this, and I wish I'd have played this a long time ago. Either way, that was awesome. You can find the Stanley Parable on ModDB or in the link in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. Click the annotations for more videos that I've done. Let me know in the comments if you want me to go down the other path, or you can do it for yourself, which might be even better and more fun. So let me know in the comments below, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!
Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time. Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see, there's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stan. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Oh, well, now this is useful. You didn't like it, but you didn't totally hate it either. You enjoyed it, perhaps is the correct term. It didn't cause you excruciating pain. Big steps we've made here today, Stanley. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
me Cody the Kid. When I was a young man, couldn't wait to get big. All in all, I stayed on my job and you can call me Cody the Kid. Can't stop, don't stop, 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 can't stop, don't stop. Can't stop, don't stop. That's my routine. The rocket shows no scope. It's on the road. Those other dreams, and it really truly seems that this is supposed to happen. Man, it's just that happened, and I'm obviously the team. I cleaned up, even if I mean up high up. All the damn design, listening to Gucci Mane, honey, and I'm designing good love. Can't stop, don't stop. All I was a young man, couldn't wait to get big. All I was stayed on my
Waking up from a dream. Going round and round and round. After a while, one's experience begins to have what I would call a haven't we been here before feeling. And then you begin wondering, where am I going? What do I want to happen? And of course, as soon as you ask yourself that, you begin to fantasize. And so I soon found myself at a great push-button place, with buttons available for every conceivable thing I could wish. All possible pleasures are available. You know, you go going like that, and here is Cleopatra. You press this button, for symphonic music. So I simply set myself to thinking through how far we could go. Now, you suddenly notice there's a button labeled surprise. You push that, and here we are.